Going Greyhounds for your daily update of the latest news and tips.
Welcome to Going Greyhounds on your Thursday morning right here on Sky Sports Radio. Simon Orchard with you as usual. A bit of a change of pace today on the show. Normally we got some feature racing to preview or at least a trainer or two on the line to discuss their prospects, but instead we'll take a bit of a temperature check of the sport right now here in New South Wales as we enter the second half of 2023. And who better to talk about some of the big issues, the stuff our participants are having a yak to one another about on track each and every day, than the Greyhound Racing New South Wales Deputy CEO, Wayne Billett. He joins us on the line this morning. Morning, Wayne. How are you, mate?
Well, thank you, Simon. Yourself?
Going really well, mate. Hey, let's dive straight into it, Wayne, as we sit here, July 13. Have you been satisfied with the first half of 2023, mate, and all that's held for Greyhound Racing here in New South Wales?
Yeah, I think so, Simon. It's been, as always, as you alluded to, it's been plenty going on the track. But we've also had plenty going off the track over the last 6 months. We've opened Muswellbrook. We've done some significant work at the Thirlmere trial track, and Cesstock is also. So we've done investment off the track as well to help support our participants. So that complements what we're trying to support our industry with. And along with along the first 6 months, as you know, we've had the Egg and all those type of races, the 715, the Country Classic, the Thunderbolt, etc. Culminating in the Mossman and the Opal the Peters and the Vic Peters and the Peter Mossman last week. So certainly has been plenty going on.
It sure has, mate. We finally take a little bit of a breath as we've got a couple of weeks before the next big feature, the GRNSW Southern Stars, going off tomorrow, Wagga and Goulburn. Hey, Wayne, let's talk about some of these issues, mate. We'll start with the racing calendar. It's always a difficult thing to prepare. Greyhound Racing New South Wales has made some notable adjustments to the back end of 2023, none more so than the Dapto Megastar being moved out of its normal December time slot. The Blacktop at the Gardens, the Maitland Cup, they've shifted as well. Why have we made some of these adjustments, Wayne?
Yeah, so the group calendar's one of those things that's so tight-knit now across the national landscape that it's about trying to give the best all dogs the best opportunity, and with them in the Megastar in particular, it was based in that December period. But over the last couple of years, in Victoria, they've introduced the Phoenix, and then they've moved the Silver just at the time slot for the Silver Chief. That's had a real impact on our Megastar, and the Megastar's our only Group 1 race outside of Metropolitan Racing in New South Wales. And like all those events, we want our participants and people to be able to have the opportunity to race for all the big events. So the times that, the slot shift from the Megastar back into that sort of late August, September is generally where it started off to start with, ironically enough, Simon. And then when we introduced the $1 Million Chase originally, it sort of overlapped with that. So we moved it. Now we're moving it back into that time, into that slot. And we see that, the Megastar, and also the Blacktop, which will sort of be a 4-week series, will be a good run-in for people into our $1 Million Chase series. So that's those. And then the Maitland one is, Maitland being a different type of track, that one-turn track, we reached out to the club and to the GBHA and said, listen, are you interested in, it was in a congested slot around that Egg time with the Richmond Derby and Oaks, etc. Were they interested in putting it into that slot prior to Christmas? They were, so that's why we've made the changes there. And we think overall that they should be seen to be pretty positive from a participant point of view.
And for those wondering, the Megastar will go, the heats on August 31, the final September 7 worth $75,000 to the winner, and then the Maitland Cup shifts from March to December 1st and 8th. The Blacktop, of course, you mentioned in September as well, Wayne, in the lead-in to the $1 Million Chase. Hey, while we're on feature racing, mate, we've just had the 2 time-honoured Group 1s. You mentioned the Vic Peters Classic, the Peter Mossman Opal, both Group 1s, both worth $75,000, both with proud histories. Were you a little bit underwhelmed at all, Wayne, by the lack of nominations, I guess, considering the standing? We know Queensland had their Winter Carnival and they've been slapping each other on the backs about how successful that was. Do we have the right emphasis, I guess, on the right races in New South Wales at the moment?
So I'm not surprised that the Queenslanders are slapping themselves on the back about how good that their carnival was, and it was a fantastic carnival. I think for us, what people have to remember about the Vic Peters and Peter Mossman, they're age classics. So there's only there's only a certain number of dogs that are eligible across the board to go in those two type of events. If we're honest, would we want more? Of course we would have wanted more. But, with the plethora of group racing across the country, again, sometimes it can cannibalise or dilute what we had. The one thing I will say about the racing last Saturday night, Simon, is it might have lacked in quantity, but the quality was absolutely outstanding. And for those who are racing curious would have seen those two event finals the other night. We've got some cracking youngsters graduating through our program in New South Wales, and for me that's exciting to see where they head to.
Yeah, you're spot on. Pencil in Zipping Remus and Nangar Lucy as potential runners in the $1 Million Chase in a couple of months. They should be cherry ripe in a few months' time to take on that opportunity. Hey, mate, let's move off feature racing. Let's talk a little bit about track upgrades. We know in the last 12 months, Wayne, Taree, Goulburn and Dapto in particular have been identified as venues to either upgrade or improve or totally remodel. Do you have any updates on those three venues for our listeners?
Yeah, thanks, Simon. So the Goulburn, we've been working closely with the local council and the local stakeholders down there. The Goulburn site is unique because it's got multi-user facility for the community. So there's been a lot of moving parts down there. But I'm pleased to say that we've worked closely with the council and the different parts of the community down there to work through the issues. We're confident that in the coming month or two that we will finally have those resolved, and then council can consider that application in its entirety. Taree, excitingly enough, Taree is not that'll be the next one that'll probably head off from our point of view, from an upgrade point of view. It's not that far away. All the design and the planning has all been finalised. The tender documents are being drawn, so we're very close to issuing that documentation in the coming days or weeks, which will see us start there in a couple of months' time or so. With Dapto, Dapto's still preliminary design and plan down there. We've got some consultation, etc., to do. So we're sort of working behind the scenes there just to put all the stuff that we need to put in stuff so that the count, when we do put a proper development application into the Wollongong Council, that it provides all the information we need. And the other one, Simon, is also Lithgow. We had plans to upgrade Lithgow, and again, it's not that far away. We've sort of done the final design and planning there, and just doing the final costings and scope, and we should see some movement there also in regards to some work in a couple of months' time.
You're listening to the voice of Wayne Billett, the Deputy CEO of Greyhound Racing New South Wales, on Going Greyhounds here this morning. Hey, Wayne, GRNSW and GWIC, the Greyhound Welfare Integrity Unit, announced last week that from August 1, we'll be doing some trials with a double-arm lure and preferred box draws at selected greyhound tracks. We've seen the double-arm lure at Dapto and the Gardens for about 5 or 6 weeks now, mate. How will these adjustments benefit our participants, do you think?
Well, Simon, these interactions, these new implementations are on the back of a race injury review summit that was jointly held by GWIC and Greyhound Racing New South Wales back in February, contained a range of industry stakeholders about what initiatives can we do to make our racing even safer for our greyhounds. As you know, that's our highest priority, to ensure that our greyhounds get around that track safely when they're racing. So for us, a couple of the points that were raised was the introduction of a trial or a pilot of the double arm lure. As you know, in Victoria, they've also done a pilot on some of their tracks, which has been successful in some regards. So in New South Wales, we're doing the same. We're going to do the double arm lure just on its own at the Gardens on Friday, Saturday nights. So that's been the trials up there have been really well received. We're also going to do the double arm lure at Dapto, but with Dapto we're going to do also add in the preferred box draw, and this is a couple of races over the 297 for 5th grade dogs, so that'll give us a guide on whether those two things combined make any other difference with them combined. And then finally, for the Wednesday night Wenty meetings, once they get through the national series, we're going to be doing a couple of races over the 520 metres for 5th grade and a non-grade non-grade sprint as well. And yeah, so it's exciting times. And once they get up and running, we'll obviously analyse the data and see what changes can potentially tweak to the system. But yeah, it's something on the back of fairly extensive consultation, and that's how the implementation's been rolled out.
Right, plenty happening around the state at the moment. Hey, Wayne, we're not normally a talkback sort of program here in Going Greyhounds. I've got a couple of texts here from participants out there wanting to maybe just know some rapid-fire answers. So I don't expect war and peace, but I'll just fire a few questions at you here quickly before we head off today, mate. The first one, does Greyhound Racing New South Wales have the capacity to live stream box draws?
No, we don't.
Okay. Are you worried, mate, about the balance between short course racing versus sprinting and staying ranks? Are you a bit thin at the top end?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Simon, and there's something that's at front of mind. Is we've seen that the introduction of short course racing has certainly changed the balance in regards to the numbers in that regard. I mean, for us, it's an ongoing work in progress. I think the one thing that we have introduced, which has been really well received and is growing in stature, is our middle distance racing for 600 metre dogs. Now we have regular races at Dapto, the Gardens, Richmond, Gosford, and throughout the state every week. That's grown immensely. So that component of our industry has grown. We would have liked to have seen the 520 metre racing grow. It has had a slight increase, Simon, to be honest. The 600 metres has been fantastic. The 700 metres is pretty static. And I think you'll find that sort of generally nationwide. So it's something that we're mindful of and trying to, we'll continue to try and look at initiatives of how to reward that type of racing.
All right. And finally, Wayne, just quickly, She's a Pearl. She's getting closer to the end of her career. Andy Lord's been very honest saying she could end off the breed at any stage. Where does she rank, mate, in terms of great greyhounds you've seen over the journey?
Oh, she's up there, Simon. She's been sensational, hasn't she? And she's been sensational for a period of time. I think that's the thing that I think Andy has placed her to perfection. And just when you think that when she's not going great, she comes out and just goes bang. I mean, I was up at Dubbo recently for the Brother Fox Classic, and and they took her out there, and it was a sensational run, and then she comes back into town and still runs 29.4, 29.3. So she has been a superstar of our sport, and again is one of those dogs that you're happy to have the poster on the wall and say, well, geez, I was glad that I was around in her era, because she's been absolutely exceptional.
We'll finish on that note. Well said. Thanks so much for sharing some time and some great insights into the sport, Wayne. We appreciate having you on, and we'll have to do this again, I reckon. Have a great day.
Yeah, it sounds great, Simon. As always, appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.